Hello everybody and welcome back to Stealwing33 Plays Dark Souls 3. I'm Stealwing33 and today I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good mood today actually. It's been a pleasant day, a very pleasant day indeed. I'm happy to be playing a little bit of Dark Souls here. Hopefully we will see the what's the word I'm looking for? The payoff of our labor, the something of our something. Basically what I'm getting at is that between episodes here, I upgraded our weapon slightly. So we have twin cell swords, +1, which is super great. And they are also enchanted with fire. It's very important to remember that when you're playing Souls games of any kind, that you should always enchant your weaponry. The weapon enchantments make your weapons normally, like, significantly better. We destroyed that guy really easily, where before we were sort of having a little bit of trouble with him. Not too much, but, you know, just enough. But now that we've got these fire cell swords, we should be doing significantly more damage, which should make it pretty easy for us to get through some of the next couple areas here. We're starting to enter the part of the game where the game stops being significantly easy. In there is Greerat. He is a thief and a merchant, and you get the key for him much later in this section of the level here. I already picked up a couple of the items in here because I started a recording, and I started having stomach cramps, so I had to pause the recording, and now I'm restarting the recording, so, you know, not a big deal, not a big deal. Turned out I just had a burp really bad, which was kind of, like, I was embarrassed for myself, despite the fact that I didn't do it on camera. But we're good to go. So this guy right here, knock him off like that, then wait right here for a minute for this dude, and then give him the business end of the stick, and then plunging attack his ass. Now, this is very important. So you can kind of see up there's a bunch of those groping guys. The dude who's right above my character's head right now, the guy who, like, my head's kind of covering, that dude turns into a rat monster, okay? So, bright side, we have fire weapons now, right? So if this guy manages to turn into a rat monster, we will stun lock him, because these rat monsters are weak to fire. Downside is that he managed to turn into a rat monster, so we now have to fight him instead of sort of, like, being able to kill him super easily without any sort of problem whatsoever. But that is not a big deal. Should be pretty easy to cut through this guy like that. There you go. Fire damage really coming in big. That's why it's very important to enchant your weapons. A lot of enemies in the game, some of them have weaknesses to certain elements. In Dark Souls 3, fire is the element of the day. Unlike in Dark Souls 1, where lightning was the element of the day, fire is really the god king of all elements in this one. Lightning's still very good, but lightning's only really good in this one if you have a high faith build, because it now causes a scaling with faith on any weapon that you enchant with lightning. This crystal lizard guy, you want to come over here and kill him because I believe he drops, yeah, raw gem. Raw weaponry, still pretty good. High physical damage. No stat scaling, so at the beginning of the game, raw is probably the best way to take your weapons, except for maybe fire. Fire also has no stat scaling, so what you want to try to do at the beginning of the game is mitigate how often your stats affect how much damage you do. Reason being is that your stats are garbo at the beginning of the game, no matter what class you are, no matter who you are as a player, or what kind of whatever you got going on, your stats suck at the beginning of the game. Sort of universal, sort of the way this is, and you just gotta be prepared for that. You know, you gotta be comfortable with the idea that you suck, and that you will continue to suck for a long time until you stop sucking, and then that's sort of Dark Souls in a nutshell. It's also kind of life in a nutshell, which is ironic. So now we're going to see... I need to see how well this weapon does against shielded enemies, because I know that what weapons are what I normally use, right? I normally use a mace, and even now I'm using, like, the Kestis when I played Dark Souls 2. During the second run of Dark Souls 2, I used a mace during Dark Souls 2, and I used a mace during Dark Souls 3 as well, my first time through. I used a broadsword the second time through, which made it pretty easy, actually. Broadsword's a very good weapon. If you're starting the game and you need a weapon of choice, the broadsword is very good because the broadsword has a very sweepy attack, but it's very fast and it's very efficient. It's a very, very good weapon. It also has very good, like, it just does good damage. And you can find it right here. If you missed where that is, we went through Shield Man's room, came around this way, and it's inside this room where this jackass was waiting to ambush us. So we're in good business. We're in good business right now. I'm pretty pleased. The broadsword is a good weapon. We're not going to be using it because we are only allowed to use paired weapons during this run. This thief guy is going to get back up, so you got to kill him before you open up this chest. And inside this chest is, I think it's the Silver Hawk Shield. Yes! Silver Eagle Kite Shield. That's a very good shield if you start the game without a 100% physical damage shield because you started playing as a Pyromancer or a Cleric, or a Sorcerer, or a Thief, or an Assassin, or this guy, or the Warrior. So basically, if you started as anybody that isn't the Herald or the Knight, that is the first 100% physical damage blocking shield that you can get in the game. It is also one of the better shields in the game, sort of from a general standpoint. My reasoning for saying that is because it's the kind of weapon that, or it's the kind of shield that A, blocks 100% physical, but you can also use your weapon skills while you have it equipped. So instead of being able to parry like all the other weapons, which if you're new to the game isn't something that you're going to be doing anyway, you can instead use that to use stuff like if you're using a spear, you can do the charge attack. We're gonna pop an Ember here, by the way, because I'm a little hurt and I've used up all of my Estus already, and I want to be able to. I want to keep going in this area, but I also need to equip the throwing knives in order to throw them at. Where did that guy go? He's around here somewhere. Where did Axeman go? There he is. I want to grab Axeman without grabbing the rest of the room, because there's a lot of bad guys with big weapons on this room. And if I can fight them one at a time, that is better for us in the long run, especially since we are not using a shield. So we have no safety whatsoever. It's very important to stay safe. That's another good skill to have in Dark Souls, is learning to pull enemies one at a time. You want to do it whenever possible. If you can avoid fighting more than one dude at a time, you will be in good shape. It is not something that that's always something you can do, but it is something that you can pretty much always do. Another thing that you can always be on the lookout for is any barrels that have rope on them, like these ones right here that I'm standing next to. If you hit them with fire of any caliber, like this, they explode. You probably saw that earlier when I ran into that room with the firebomb guy. The explosions can be used to wipe out large groups of enemies at once, if you can bait them into it. You have to be careful not to hit yourself. You guys saw me do that there, and it almost got me killed by this asshole right here. But if you can manage to not allow that to happen, you will be in good shape. Doggo enemies, these guys down here. All dog enemies are weak to fire. They get stun locked if you hit them with fire. And so you can run up and hit them and make them dead. That cell key, which we got down here, unlocks Greerat's cell. You need that in order to unlock Greerat as a person. And I picked up an Estus shard off of this like weird altar thing right here. The Estus shard is used to increase the amount of Estus that you have available to you for healing. They are critically important. You need them to beat the game. I don't know, unless you're like insanely good at Dark Souls, I don't think you can beat the game without picking up any of the Estus shards. I don't think it's possible. I think that if you can somehow manage to do it, put it on YouTube. You will get many views, because I would be impressed if you can beat the final bosses with only 3 Estus flasks. I'd be supremely impressed. Ooh, Winged Knight guy. You gotta be careful. Winged Knight guy is kind of hard to kill. I took a big risk trying to do that cheeky thing where I fell down on him, but we're just gonna run away, actually. We're gonna go unlock a shortcut, and I'm gonna explain it a little better once we're away from Winged Knight Halberd Man, because we're a little hurt and I'm a little worried. So over here, there's an elevator over here. There's a bunch of guys that spawn in on the right, but we're gonna ignore them because we're too hurt to fight them right now, and I'm worried about Winged Knight Man coming in and following us. Ow! That guy hit me in the foot. Well, he's dead now, so screw you, buddy. This is, we saw it earlier, this is the shortcut area. We killed a bunch of dogs here, and we got the longbow here, if you guys remember correctly from episode 1. We're already pretty early in the game here, but luckily I died very close to a bonfire, which is just up on top of that rampart over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to teleport back to the first bonfire in this area, and then use that as a shortcut to get our souls back, and to cut like a lot of the time off going back down into that lower area, because we are approaching the first boss, Vordt of the Boreal Valley. We'll be fighting Vordt alone, probably. I see no reason to summon help for him. He's not that hard of a boss. I can see him being pretty difficult if you are new to the game because his attack patterns aren't that easy to read. They're not particularly difficult to read either, but they're not easy to read, I guess, if you want to put it that way. You know, I don't know where my bloodstain is. Normally it's like right where you died, but it wasn't there for some reason. So we'll have to go poke around a little bit to find that. Really, I should probably be heading back to Firelink, actually, to upgrade my Estus flasks. And I should probably redistribute my Estus flasks more towards the orange side rather than the blue side, because I'm not casting and I'm not using my weapon ability, because the weapon ability on this thing is garbage. Well, that's not fair to the weapon ability. It's not that bad. It's just not particularly useful in any situation ever. It doesn't do very good damage. It does do, like, a sweepy, like, spinny attack, which can be kind of nice if you're, like, into that kind of thing, I guess. But, it's not useful for our purposes. Okay, good. They're at the bottom of the elevator, so actually super nice that they spawn down here, because they're very easy to pick up. So now we will take the time to kill this man right here. Ow. Please stop. And then, actually, our weapon ability is probably really good against these guys, because you do spin a little bit. That being said, I lied. It is garbage, and I hate it, and I should never use it again. We'll just use the fucking L1 attack, because it does the exact same thing as their spinning attack, except it does good damage instead of garbage damage. Like a fucking garbage can fire that it is. It's a very important shortcut. I know I kind of scrambled through it, but basically I'll walk you through it. So through the winged knight area, which is that guy right there. We're gonna go back and kill him because I'm gonna go grab that item over there by running and jumping right here. I missed. Okay, that's gonna suck because we're a little hurt, and now I need to heal before we can go engage a big winged knight guy. Ow. How about you don't? How about you don't? Winged knight guy, susceptible to butt stabbing. And you can hit him while he's getting back up, which is also nice. I would not recommend it, actually, now that I have been on the receiving end of one of his attacks. They hit like a truck. Winged Knight guy can be a kind of a pain in the ass to kill. What you gotta do is just hug him and roll over his attacks. He always swings... He swings a lot like Gundyr did, where he swings like pulling up over his left shoulder and swinging over to the right side of his body. So if you just remember that and just dodge towards that side, you should be able to dodge him pretty easy. The Rapier, very, very good weapon if you're doing a high dexterity build. Rapier is very fast. Like, it's a very, very fast weapon. And if you're going to use it, you need to have really high dexterity, and you need to have supreme patience. It's very easy to, like, want to get more than one hit in, because the Rapier is a very quick weapon, and it doesn't do very good damage per hit. But that doesn't matter when you're using the Rapier, because it's the Rapier. It's not supposed to do a lot of damage. You're supposed to jab and stab at it. It does pierce shields, if I'm not mistaken. And it does do very well. It does take good stamina damage through shields. And you can be enchanted with a lot of other stuff. And there's a lot of very good Rapiers in the game, including the Crystal Rapier, which you get from making a weapon out of a boss soul later in the game. I'm pulling this guy away because there's a second one of these dudes with a sword over there. You can kind of see him off in the distance there. And these guys are not hard to kill one-on-one, but if you add a second dude into the mix, they become a goddamn nightmare. Let's try this out. Nope. Okay, so I do bounce off of his shield, which is good to know. Vordt's going to be really hard without Estus. Ow, that's right, I can't kick with this fucking weapon. If you're going to be using the twin cell swords, just remember, you cannot kick with them, making dudes with shields a freaking nightmare. Ow. Oh, we're dead. Alright. These shield guys are going to be a pain. Anybody with a big shield is going to be a real big nightmare for us because we're using a bladed weapon. If we were using a blunt weapon, you can hit people with shields using a blunt weapon, and your weapon will... The attack will, like, hit them, but you won't recoil like I did when I hit him with my swords. And the reason that's important to remember is that if you hit somebody with your swords and you bounce off of them, it leaves you susceptible to their next attack, right? So you got to be very wary about how you go about fighting people. You got to know your know your weaponry matchups, know how different weapons react to different situations, and plan accordingly. Any really heavy weapons, great swords, ultra great swords, axe type weapons, blunt weapons, they all will just slam into their shield, and you can keep hitting them in order to break their guard and get a visceral attack on them, which is like the critical attacks, the butt stabs and the parry type attacks and stuff like that are all called. I call them visceral attacks because that's what they were called in Bloodborne. They're called critical strikes and all the other ones, but that name's lame, so whatever. We're gonna call them visceral attacks. But you can keep wailing on somebody with a blunt weapon in order to break their guard and then get a visceral attack. With sworded weapons, you can't do that, but sword weapons also have a one-up that they also do. They do consistently good damage. Blunt weapons are bad versus things like they're bad versus like unarmored targets. Any fleshy targets, unarmored or armor. Blunt weapons. There we go. Blunt weapons are bad against them. Heavy armor targets, though, blunt weapons, supreme weapons. Let's go ahead and pull that guy. So we'll go ahead and butt stab him. A lot of the game, if you're using bladed weaponry, a lot of the game's going to come down to killing your target before they kill you and getting butt stabs. That's really where bladed weapons shine. They have much better critical strike than blunt weapons do. And they're also normally much faster. Like, you want to try to use them in relation to that kind of stuff. So, higher speed builds, things of that nature. Normally I would kick this guy, but I can't do that with the twin sellswords because the twin sellswords kick is like that weird loopy little flip thing. Normally I'd kick him and break his guard, and then we would visceral attack him to death. But I can't do that with this weapon, so we're going to have to wait for an opportunity and then wail on him until he dies. And then back up. See? So you gotta learn to pick your moments. And I'm not doing a good job of it because I'm used to playing my Demon Fist character, who is just, you roll up and you just wail on the person until they die. Which is not a good way to play the game as like literally anyone else, because A, he has a blunt weapon, B, he has an apocalyptic amount of HP. He's got, his HP bar goes almost, it goes more than halfway across the screen. Almost 3/4 of the screen is taken up by my health bar on that character. So it's a little unfair to like play this guy that same way, which is why I'm taking so much damage, just because I'm used to being able to take a punch and sort of just ignore it. I'm also not wearing heavy armor, so that it's a lot of small quality of life things that are causing me a problem. In addition to that, I'm going to pop an Ember here because A, I want more HP going into the boss fight, but B, you can kind of see, so this is a very popular boss fight for people to help you with. These are summon signs. You need to pop an Ember and be embered, which you can see in the upper right corner. There's like, my sign is on fire. That's a good way to tell if you're embered. You're also, your armor and stuff starts like looking like you're on fire. Summon people to help you. Don't be ashamed of it. It is not, it's part of the game. It's built into the game that you summon people to help you with boss fights. If you get really good at the game, shame on you for summoning people to fight some of these boss fights. Vordt is, you shouldn't have to summon people to fight Vordt if you get really good at the game. But if you're new, if it's your first time playing, or if you're just learning to, sort of get into it and just learning to play, there's no shame in summoning help. I did it all through Dark Souls 1, with the exception of Ornstein and Smoke, because I ran through that entire area. The Dragon Slayer Great Bows were kind of scary. But Vordt's not, he's not hard. The issue with Vordt is that he can be a little intimidating. He's very fast, he's very big, and he hits very hard. These are all a recipe for disaster for players that are not used to dealing with big enemies like this, right? So you just got to remember to roll and just hug his body. Don't let Vordt get too far away from you, and just hug him. Hug him and hit him in the head. And just roll whenever he attacks. Just roll into him. Normally you'll dodge whatever it is that he's doing. Like regardless of what the attack is, you'll normally dodge him if you roll into him. Just hug his body, hug his belly, and you should be good to go. You'll see it. I'm gonna destroy Vordt probably. His second phase is a little rougher because he does a lot more dashing. He does a lot more attacks like that, which you cannot dodge super easy. Or correction, you can dodge it by rolling into him, but the problem is that then it's hard to get your actual hits off on him after that. But then you just wait for him to do this attack, and he spends 100 years doing it, Getting frostbitten, not that big of a deal. It does a little bit of damage to you and reduces the stamina regeneration time, but it's almost negligible, to be honest. But you can see we're already almost done with Vordt here, and I have yet to, except for getting that frostbite damage, I didn't get hit. Now, you know, I know I'm good at Dark Souls, which is a little unfair for me to be saying, like, the guy's a chump, but don't get scared. That's the big thing, is don't get intimidated by the bosses. You are strong enough to fight them. That's the end of the sentence. You are strong enough to fight the bosses. Now that we've killed Vordt, you probably are like, where do we go now? Well, we have to go back up, up this way, and we have to go into that church up there, which I should have done after I killed both of those night guys. I'm fucking stupid. We have to go back up into the church, and there's a lady up there that we need to talk to, and she will give us an item that will allow us to go to the next area, which will be very nice because I like the next area a little bit. It's called the Undead Settlement. Undead Settlement is the first area where you start fighting bad guys with status effects, and you start fighting what I like to call, they're medium-sized enemies. So Vordt I would consider a large enemy, and then there are gargantuan enemies like Yorm the Giant and some of the giant enemies later in the game. But you start fighting some of the medium-sized enemies, because up to this point you're fighting normal and small enemies, and it's a different change of pace when you start adding medium enemies to the mix. And I will point out what I consider a medium enemy when we find one. If you're at home and you're wondering, and you've like played Dark Souls and you're wondering, the Evangelists are what I consider the first medium-sized enemy in the game, because they are big enough where they cannot be stun-locked by getting hit by you, but they are not big enough where like they're gonna like bulldoze over you. I hate Shield Man here. Shield Man can die in a fire. I just don't know a good way to fight him that isn't just wail on him until he dies. Which is on me. Like, I never really had to learn because I always use a blunt weapon. But, you know, I got one type of enemy that I can't really fight. Pardon me for, you know, not being... I'm not God tier, guys. I'm pretty good, but I'm not perfect. I'm not one of those people that's allowed to make changes to the wiki and stuff, and really need a drink again. Alright, that guy's dead, finally. I can't figure out how to fight dudes with the big shields, you know? It's kind of a pain in my ass. There's a couple other guys that we can go kill, and they're worth killing because those night guys have a tendency to drop embers and titanite shards. But this is the lady you need to talk to. You need to talk to her before you go kill Vordt, or afterward, like I just did. Yeah, sure, whatever.
You will not find the Lords of Cinder here.
Because they're all gone. We already knew that.
Homes converging at the base of this castle.
Yes.
Head to the bottom of the high wall.
Thank you.
Forge on through the great gate and raise this banner to proceed.
Sounds good. So you need that item in order to proceed.
It is if you fear trespassers, then etch this and the old Concord.
Okay, so Way of the Blue, that item that she just gave us, that allows you, so you come in here and you go to this slot to equip Covenants. This one, if we get invaded by somebody, blue spirits will come and like protect us, right? So it takes a little bit, but if you get invaded by if you're, you know, playing the game and you're constantly getting invaded and you're getting really pissed off and it's very annoying and it's putting you back so far and you just don't know what to do about it, put on your Way of the Blue Covenant and just roll with it. Ow, god damn it. Fucking Shield man. I hate these guys. These guys were such a pain in the dick when I first started playing this. They're pretty easy to fight now, well, except for Spearman, apparently. But that's because of my weapon, not because these guys are particularly difficult. You just sort of have to always remember to roll into the enemies rather than away from them, because if you roll away from them or to the left or the right, like too far, you have a tendency to get hit. There's a blue guy up there, but I don't have any Estus, and I don't feel confident enough to go fight him, to be wholly honest here. I really need to remember to redistribute my Estus flasks back towards the orange side rather than the blue side, which you can do at Andre the Blacksmith. There's a button called Allocate Estus, and that's how you do that. We'll rest at the spawn fire real quick, and then we will be on our way. I'm looking forward to getting a better weapon. The twin cell swords is not a bad weapon by any means, and this is very breathtaking. Everything you see before you, we will eventually go into. That over there is the cleansing chapel. That's the where Aldrich, Saint of the Deep is. That over there is that's where the Curse Rod Greatwood is. That one right there where my character's head is, that is the giant spear thingy. That's the broken wall of High Lothric. If you look down here is... Oh, no, I'm sorry. Down there where those 3 torches are, that is... No. So that is the... that's the Temple of the Deep. Down there is the Road of Sacrifice? No, Farron Keep. Where those 3 torches are down there. There's a bunch of cool stuff. It's kind of cool that you get to see all of the stuff in Dark Souls before you really, like, get over to it. And it's just kind of neat that you get to... You can kind of see it all from there. It's also a great view. It's a really, really pretty picture of, like, what's to come and all that stuff. The area right here, down in the bottom left corner of the screen right here, that's the undead settlement. That's the area we're about to enter. So I'm very excited. I'm hoping that we'll end up with some better gear going into this. The Fallen Knight set, I don't know if we have the equipment load to equip it, but that's probably one of the better sets in the game. It provides you with a ton of fire and darkness resistance. It's very, very good physical protection. Its biggest issue is that it's kind of weighty. If you can manage the weight, it's one of the better sets in the game. If you can't manage the weight, well, there are other sets that we can use, like the Herald set's pretty good. The Elite Knight set is not bad. There's a couple good ones. We'll sit here, we'll light up this bonfire, and then we'll probably press into the next area. Probably try to go... We'll probably go until the underside of the bridge bonfire. Yeah, we'll try to make that happen. Let's see how much trouble I have in this next area, because I did not have to do this with dual weapons when I did it on my Demon Fist run, because at this point there aren't any dual weapons in the game up to this point, unless you start out as a class with a dual weapon. But that's okay. Doggomans are dead. Dogs are the worst in this game. They just kind of are. We have to go through that gate. That's progression, but there is an item and a dude over here that I need to go get. Well, there's 2 items and a dude over here that I want to go get. There's also some more dogs, which are right around this corner. So we're just going to wail on them. Remember that the reason the dogs are rolling around on the ground like that is because my weapon is enchanted with fire. Very, very good thing to do. That's why we started the game with the fire gem. It's the ideal thing to take out of that opening set of stuff. Because of just how ridiculous fire damage is in this game. Alright, so this guy right here.
Then it's true. A champion of Ash, as I live, and to be in your presence is a great honor.
Yeah, alright, come on, man.
I am Yol of Londor, a pilgrim, as you can see, only somehow
he's got a butt
I
face.
failed to die as was ordained. Well, perhaps my calling lies elsewhere. Say, champion, I was once a...
Sure, why not? So this guy is L'Oriel of Yondor, Londor? Uriel of Londor. He's a sorcerer trainer. He's also how you unlock one of the alternate endings of the game, which is the ending we're going to be shooting for. Because I haven't done it on any of my other characters, and I want to do it, and I now have the foreknowledge necessary to complete that task. So we're going to shoot for, trying to do that ending. So there's a couple endings in the game, okay? There's do what you're supposed to do, which is link the fire. Do what you're supposed to do, Redux, where you do what you're supposed to do, and there's also like you complete like another lady's quest line, and that's fine. And then there's the destroy the fire ending, right? I never gotten the destroy the fire ending. I know how to get it, but I've never gotten it because every time I play the game, I always screw it up. Because it's very, very easy to screw it up if you are not careful. And so I am interested in not doing that this time, and instead taking the time out of my life to be able to get that special ending. And it'll also be very interesting for you guys, because then you'll have to play the game in order to see the original ending, the good ending. Because the darkness ending is a bad ending. Well, not a bad ending like it's bad, but bad like you are a bad guy at the end of that one. This guy with his giant fork coming at me like he thinks he's gonna fucking step to me. You don't step to me, I step to you. You don't step to me. Alright, cut this guy down, grab his item. Small leather shield, not bad, good for parrying. Small leather shield does not block 100% physical, but it does have a very large parry hitbox. Not as large as the target shield, if I remember correctly, but a very, very large parry hitbox. Yes, different shields do, in fact, have different sized hitboxes. The charcoal pine resin is something that you can apply to your weapon that causes it to be lit on fire temporarily. It is a very short effect in comparison to, say, no, I'm sorry, that's charcoal pine bundle. Charcoal pine resin is the big version. The bundle is a very, very short duration, maybe enough for like 2 or 3 attacks before it runs out. The resin is a much longer effect, able to last, for up to 10 minutes, stuff like that, which is very, very good. These guys are called thralls. The thralls are chumps if you hit them because they stagger very easily because these are a small enemy. They're like the thralls, like the dudes with broken straight swords and stuff. They're worthless if you hit them, but they're very fast, and if they swarm all over you, they also do multi-hit combos. That's sort of how they work. We have some fire bombs. So you can see right there that lady by the tree, she is our first medium-class enemy, or what I would consider a medium-class enemy, okay? Loretta's Bone is for Gree Rat, who we need to go back and save because I need to get him. I'm blind firing these things because I've gotten very good at aiming the thrown weapons and stuff throughout the course of my career, my illustrious Dark Souls career. I'm talking like I'm gonna earn some kind of reward for playing Dark Souls. I doubt that. I doubt I'll even gain more than like 2 or 3 subscribers for playing Dark Souls. So this lady, she does some stuff. She throws Gnaw at you, which is that effect right there. If that hits you, it causes a lot of bleed. On effect, she has a very, very large mace. She also has a tendency to light herself on fire and try to hug you, which I do not recommend allowing her to do because it hurts like hell, and it also causes a lot of stun locking, which is bad. You don't want to get stun locked. She also cannot be staggered. Well, she can be. It's just it's very difficult to stagger her. Your best strategy is, again, same as I always say, just hug her. She'll try to do the light on fire attack and give you a hug, and you'll run up and backstab her, and she will get killed. Your best strategy for a lot of enemies in the game is just hug them. Some enemies, not the case, but anybody medium-sized and up, if you hug them, you're pretty much in the running to, like, not get destroyed by them. Small, like, normal size and small enemies, try not to hug them because their attack patterns have a tendency to cause problems, unless they have a shield. If they have a shield, hug the crap out of them. Forkman here is starting to get on my nerves a little bit here. But that's alright. Kill that guy. Ow. Get stabbed by other Forkman. Kill this Forkman. Alright. Right here by the tree, the reason that we even killed that evangelist at all is because there's an Estus shard by this tree. Another vial of delicious, delicious Estus drink for us to take on. There's a bunch of black fire bombs. Those worker guys, these dudes with the funny hats in this area, they all drop black fire bombs. Well, they have a chance to. They also have a chance to drop Titanite shards, and they have a chance to drop their like gear. All of which is very good. You can kind of see, like, I don't think I have too much gear. Yeah, I got like the steel helm. You can see the difference. So if you look at like absorption, the sellsword gear pretty much is 3.1 across the board with some variants. But then, like, this helmet is 4.6, but it blocks 4.3% physical, or 4.3 damage worth of physical damage. The higher the number, the better. I know that 10 is pretty high for something. The highest I've ever seen a helmet go is 7. The highest I've ever seen pants go is, like, I think it's like 6 or 7 or something like that. A lot of, like, armor and stuff, like chest pieces, can get up to... Can I not... I need a bow. Okay, we'll have to deal with that later. That item up there is... I think it's good. My brother got it, and I've just never really used a bow, so... I don't know what that is, so there you go. Another good strategy, you can roll into people, and then you can just smack them a whole bunch after rolling into them. It's got a little bit of risk associated with it, mostly because if you run out of stamina and you have rolled into the target, you're very likely to get smacked on the chin for your hubris, which would be bad. We're going to go this way. So there's 2 ways to approach this area. There's through this house, and then there's over that bridge. which I don't know if you guys saw that bridge earlier, but that bridge is a pretty decent way to go. I've never seen this guy in here before. Are you new? I hope you're new, because if you're not new, I'm going to be pissed. Cage Man here is a pain in the dick with our sword, because our sword does not have very good reach, and you have to get within range of him in order to hit him, which is a pain in the dick. Charcoal pine resin lights your sword on fire if you are currently not using an enchanted weapon. I don't know why you wouldn't be using an enchanted weapon. If you've been following this guide, you know that enchanted weapons are great. Warrior of Sunlight Talisman puts you in the Warrior of Sunlight Covenant, which is the Jolly Cooperation Covenant, which means that you get summoned as an orange spirit. That is Estus Soup. Estus Soup is just, it's as if you drank an Estus flask that healed you for full. Very useful. There's a couple of locations where that is in the course of the game, and I would recommend trying to get at that if you can. These guys are the worst. They're also very resistant to my sword, which is not good. This man over here is a little scary, but you gotta be more careful about the thralls. So, normal-sized enemy plus 2 small-sized enemies, normally not that big of a deal. The thralls surprise you. There is a way to deal with them before entering this room right here. And we're baiting this guy outside so that I have more room to work with to fight this guy, and I'm hoping that the thrall will run out ahead of him, because the thrall is much faster than he is. Ow, ow. Okay, this guy apparently cannot be staggered very easily by our weaponry. That's okay, he is dead now, so that does not matter that he cannot be staggered very easily. I do not know where that thrall went, but he has disappeared. Greerat is not a thrall, but he is wearing a thrall hat. For those observant ones who noticed that Greerat was wearing one of these hats. The thrall hat is used to shame people who have committed like petty crimes. So thieves, burglars, people who are dicks, you know, the town crier and all that. Cage Man, really annoying. Doesn't do too good of that doesn't do too much damage, so it can kind of be forgiven for being a dick, but it's still kind of a dick. Over here, there is an item. I don't remember what this is. I think it's a Titanite shard. Soul of an Unknown Traveler. Damn it. There must be a different item somewhere else. I know that's in this area. There's a Titanite shard down an alleyway somewhere in one of these areas. The orange like notes. Most of the time, they're going to be pretty trolly. So, you know, use your best judgment when trying to determine whether or not to listen to a note, but you should read all of them. Sometimes they are very useful, and they point out stuff like illusory walls and stuff, which can be, you know, the difference between finding an item and not finding an item. They point out ambushes, they do stuff like that. Learn to sort of trust them at arm's reach. You know, they're not always the most trustworthy thing in the universe, but at the same time, sometimes they might just save your life. We're getting a little low, so what I might do... We're going to try to run through this area, probably. The bonfire, you can kind of see down at the end of this like alleyway, there's like that orange glowing door below the evangelist lady, where that mace guy just walked out. That's where we need to go. There's a bonfire over there. And we're a little beat up, and we don't have any Estus left to go. There's a dude who's going to pop out of this door on the left-hand side in here. If you go into that room, a thrall with a long flambeard type sword comes flying out of there. It's very dangerous. I would not try to get do shelter in there if you were not prepared. Holy Knight Hodrick has spawned. Hodrick is an NPC dude, and I believe that killing him nets you the... I think it nets you something. We're going to fight Hodrick before we end this episode, probably. Because I've never actually fought Hodrick, because I don't normally run around Embered. I'm going to try to spend as much time during this playthrough Embered as possible, so that we can pull as many of these kind of stuff our way as possible. We're going to pull Hodrick down by the bonfire, so we can avoid that guy over there, the big dude over there with the saw. Hodrick has some kind of, like, I think it's a flamberge. A flamberge is a type of sword that had saw-like teeth across the side of it. In Dark Souls, it's a great sword that applies bleed to targets. It appears that he does indeed have the flamberge, which is a sack of shit. Flamberge is a great weapon. I've seen people using that very regularly, actually. So, it's one of those like weapons that's good enough to do PvP with, which there are not very many weapons that are good enough to do PvP with, because a lot of those types of weapons require like a lot of min-maxing in order to use. The Flamberge is not one of those. It's kind of like this Y-hander, where it's just a kind of generally pretty decent weapon. We're getting our ass kicked by Hodrick right now. Dude's a little bit fast, and I keep rolling into him because like I've sort of conditioned myself to do that now. But then Hodrick keeps rolling away from me. I'm very bad at player combat, for the record, so if you do end up invading me, bully to you, because you'll probably kick my ass, because I am not good at fighting players. It's one of those skills that I never learned. Hodrick fucking doing some shit, causing himself tons of bleed for some reason. I don't know what he did there, but he's doing something, and he's done something to himself, and I don't know what that is. But he did something. I'm not sure. He poisoned himself, I guess? Like, Hodrick, you okay, buddy? Just throw firebombs at him until he dies. They do 55. They're doing, like, a half-decent amount of damage here. Oh, come on. Don't give me that. Oop, there we go. Okay. Cool. Alright. Our strong attack is very strong against Hodrick. So is backstabbing him when he tries to do whatever the hell that thing is. It does not appear to be doing any damage to me, but it does appear to be healing me slightly? I guess? Yeah, it's healing me. It's healing me a little bit. I gotta keep Hodrick out of it then. Because I don't want to have to deal with healed up Hodrick if I can avoid it. I think I accidentally aggroed Sawman. No, I almost did, but I did not apparently. Yeah, I don't know what the hell this thing is, but it's healing me. It's healing Hodrick, too, but fuck Hodrick. Hodrick can die in a fire for all I care. Ah, damn it. Alright. Got our ass kicked by Hodrick. We will get our vengeance on him in the next episode. But with that, thank you all so much for watching. If you like what you saw, let me know. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date on when I post more videos. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments down below. I will be sure to answer any questions that I see. But with that, thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye!